All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And through the last, 15 to 20 videos that I've done, I've been going over how to create a body mass index or BMI calculator using the languages that we teach here at Rankin Technical College. I started with a JavaScript body mass index calculator, went to a jQuery body mass index calculator. Then, using C#, I created first a C# console body mass index calculator, then a C# GUI or graphical user interface body mass index calculator. From there, we went to Java and created a Java body mass index calculator. And then I went into the App Inventor 2 product, which we may or may not even go over, and created a body mass index calculator that way. So it's time to come in and do one in Android. All right. So I've kind of practiced a little bit someplace else, but let's just start up. So I'm going to come in here and start a new Android Studio project, and I'm going to put it into that folder. All right, so let's see. In fact, I think what I'm going to do, let me cancel this, and let me come in here. Let me minimize a bunch of stuff here. And here, I'm going to create 3 folders, and I'm going to call them version 01, version 02, and I bet you can probably guess what the last one is going to be called. And that will be version 03. The first one of these BMI or body mass index calculators that I create is going to be bare bones. What I mean is I'm going to put enough in there to make it work. I'm not going to worry about how it looks aesthetically or anything else. All right. Then in the second version, we'll see if we can pretty it up a little bit and talk about some of the ways that we're able to do that. Then in the third version, all right, the very last version, we'll modularize it. Now, what I'd like to base this off of, I haven't done this yet, so I'm not sure if what I'm going to tell you is I'm actually going to do this or not, but what I hope to base this off of, let's see. Is what I did in App Inventor 2 for this. All right. And let's see if it comes up. I'm going to use that, allow. And it should bring it up. There we go. I'd like to create that one. Colors and all. Colors, images, etc. And make it look pretty much like this. All right. It's going to be interesting because I'm not sure if that's going to work or not. I'm not sure if I really, have thought this through a whole heck of a lot or not. But I'm going to do a print screen on this, and I'm going to go into I'm going to go into Paint, just so I've got something to shoot for when I get all done. And in Paint here, I'm going to paste this in. Then I'm going to just select just the portion I want, which is right here. Copy. New, don't save. Paste it in. All right, I'm going to save this, so it'll save it as a ping, it looks like, and I'm going to call this BMI_Android.ping. All right. And then I'm going to try to send it to my printer here and see if it comes out. So I've got something, like I said, to shoot for lack of better words, as you can hear it printing behind me. All right, so that said, let's go back into here and let's start a new project. I'm going to call this one BMI V1 for version 1, and I'm going to save it under my desktop All right, I want to save it under BMI08 Android and version 1. So that's where I want to save it. Okay, next, I'm going to just select all of the defaults. Select, next, empty, next, main activity, finish. Now, if all the magic that I hope happens has happened, then once I go in here into version 1, there's my folder and there's the stuff that it's created. Now, there's nothing virtually in it yet, all right? But that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to start adding stuff to it right now, all right? Now, when you do this, a couple things. First of all, here's the code. And as you can see, there's almost nothing in this code. That's literally it right now. A package statement, an import which brings that in for compatibility, and an import which uses what they call the OS bundle. That's it. All right, I'm not going to worry about that yet, though. I'm going to go back here to activity main, and this is what I have. Now, when I first did this, I ran into some trouble, and it appeared as though the trouble I ran into was this constraint layout, and I don't want that constraint layout. So what I did was I went to the source for anything Android, which is developer.android.com. And actually, I Googled, I knew I wanted a relative layout, so I Googled relative layout Android. And the system came up and it pointed me, it was either the top one or right near it. It pointed me, whoops, to this. Make it a little bigger. Right there. So that's what I used. So that URL that you see right there is this one. All right? It's that one right there. Okay, so why am I telling you that? Because I went out there and I found what they had at the top here, at the very top for a relative layout. I copied that to the clipboard. All right, I went back into here and I took not everything out of here, but I went back and I said, okay, let's just grab this stuff and paste in my relative layout. All right, and which means I'd have to end this with a relative layout. Okay, and that's fine. And then I started looking at what was in here and I said, well, what do I have? There's a Android layout for match parent, height and weight. So boom, they're gone. All right, there's an XML NS app and an XML NS tools and a tools context. And I thought, I'm not even sure what those are, but you know what? I'm going to keep them. So I did this. So this is a hybrid right here of what you get automatically from Android itself and the changes that I made to it, all right, to add all this stuff. Now, the next thing is, when we come back here and we look at this in design mode, we've got that hello world thing, all right? We don't need that. So I can just get rid of this. Okay? Now, what that did was there's nothing on here now, but that's still fine. I'm going to start laying this out. So with the relative layout, what I started with was I came in and I said, I want a text view here. All right, we'll fix that, what that says later. Then I went to widgets, text, and I found number. All right. And I dragged that in pretty much next to where I was. All right, so I've got that. Move that down a little bit. I guess that's going to move the other one down too. But then I did the same thing again. So I went up, found myself under widgets, text view, dragged out another one. Underneath that, found another text, number, drag that out. So I've got this. Looks like that's not perfectly lined up. I'm a little anal about that, so that's pretty good. And then finally, I went in and added one more text view here. And I even put another text view right next to it. And that one, at least for now, I'm going to try to drag that out so it's a lot wider. All right? And before, when I did it, I had to do it a couple times before it took. Still doesn't like it, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, we'll see if we can fix that later. Finally, I wanted to come in and grab and put in two buttons. Let's throw one of them about right there, and let's put in another one about right here. Now, this is by no means a perfect interface, but I'm going to start to fix it up a little bit. The first thing you should always do when you fix this up is to come in here and rename everything. So let's do that. This text view right here is going to be called text view height. You can see how it changed right there. All right. The next text view is going to be called text view weight. The next one is going to be called text view BMI. And the next one is going to be called text view BMI result. Okay? And in fact, I'm trying to look. Let's see. What did I call it that? Let's just call it text view result. There. So you can see that I'm renaming things. For my edit text, this first one right here is going to be called edit text height. And the next one, as you probably have already guessed, is going to be called text edit weight. All right, so when you look here, I've renamed just about all these. What's left are the buttons. This first button is going to be called button calculate. And the next button is going to be called button clear. All right, that's good. Now it's time to go and actually work on the text that's going to go in here. But hopefully you remember this. You shouldn't go in and just click here and go to the text attribute. You shouldn't do that. Rather, you should open up under res, values, strings. You should put in strings. And you do that for localization in case you'd ever want this app that you're creating to become international. So you could use other languages. So string, gotta spell it right. Name equal height. Height with a colon. Okay. Then we're going to have another one called weight. Weight with a colon. Another one called BMI. And BMI with a colon. Calculate. And the word calculate without a colon. These are going to be the faces of our buttons. And finally, clear. Oops. And clear. Ooh. Okay. And I somehow lost my resources tape. There we go. Let's change that to clear. There we are. That's everything. That's our entire strings.xml file. Why did I do that? Let's show you. First, let me save. And I've done nothing. Okay, but let's just look and see what our interface looks like. I've created two virtual devices. The Nexus 10 is a tablet. The Nexus 1 is a phone. Let's just check it out on the phone and see right now what the app looks like. Again, there's still tons of stuff that has to be changed, and we have not added yet. We have not added the any code. So it's not at all operational. I'm more concerned aesthetically. That isn't bad. All right. So for version 1, I can live with that. All right. For round 1, whatever you want to call it. All right. So let's come back in. I'm probably not going to need strings.xml anymore, but I'll just leave it there. So first I'm going to go to text view, and I don't want that text to be in there. Instead, I want that to hold height. So I've changed that. Now that's got height. Go to the next one. That will be weight. Go to the next one. That will be BMI. All right. This is coming across pretty well. The next one, I don't want any text in there at all, so I'm just going to leave it out. Okay? I'm not worried about it right now. The next one for the button, again, I want to come to the text. I don't want it to say button. Rather, I want that one to say calculate. And next, I want to go to my button again, my other button, and I don't want that text. I want the one that says clear. Okay, so I am pretty much, as far as I know, I'm done with my interface. Again, let's do a file save all, and let's run it again. Again, it's not going to work, okay? It's not going to be operational, but I can still look at it and make sure that it pretty much is looking the way that I want it to look. I'm at 16 minutes. I'm going to finish all the intricate little things in the interface, and then after I get done, that'll be it. So right now, if I click either of these, nothing happens because there is no code to go along with it yet, which is just fine. All right. So let's go back and let's take a look at our XML that's in here. All right, we already went over this because I told you what I've added. All right, the statements, etc., that I've added in here. I'm not sure why that one is gray. It says it's never used, which should mean that we can remove it without there being any possible problems. Okay, that looks good. All right, so to start with, I've got that text view here. All right, and it's text view height. Right now, the width and the height are set to wrap content, which, all right, basically is going to kind of take up as much room as it thinks it needs. All right. Let's see. We don't have any margin. We could put some, I guess we have some margin at the top. 26 dp. Remember, there's dp, which are density pixels, and sp, which are scalable pixels. dp is a fixed unit. sp is a relative unit. All right. Well, as far as I can tell, though, that all looks okay. So let's look at the edit text next. All right. That edit text, that's edit text height. Okay. And yeah, wrap, whatever. It's got some stuff in here. Oh, it reminds me. I can go back to here. And inside of this, right here, I can put in a hint. So I'm going to say enter height 12 through 96. I like that. And for the next one, I'm going to put in another hint. Come on. And this is going to say enter weight 1 through 777. Now, I'm not, in this first version of this that I'm creating, I'm not going to put in constants or do any checking to make sure that's exactly what you put in. We'll worry about that later. All right, but we've got that in there now. Okay, then for the other text view, as we jump back into our text mode, okay, so that's the next one for the height. That looks good. Most of the stuff that's in there is just set automatically. There's very little stuff that I put in. Then we've got our second edit text. You can see I just added that hint. I could either have added the hint where I did, or I could have literally put it into the XML here. Either one would have worked. And finally, I've got, let's see, the text view for the BMI label and the text view for the result. As far as I know, everything's looking pretty good. There's only one last thing that I want to do, and to show you, just to show you that if indeed I want to do that, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a couple more attributes. So I'm going to come in here and put in Android max lines equal 3, because my output's going to go over 3 lines. And Android lines equal 3. Okay, so I'm going to just leave that in there. So I manually put that in. I could have also gone in and I could have brought it up in design mode. This up, you may or may not be able to tell. It's bigger now because it'll hold 3 lines of text. But I could have done that in here also. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just trying to mention a few things for completeness sake. All right. The only other thing that I would like to do is to double check and make sure in here, when I go and look at this in text mode, yep, input type equal number. That means that when I run this and I put in my actual code that's going to go in here, or when I put in values, they should be numeric only. And that's for weight, and it's also for height. So that's great. All right. And as I jump back into design mode, you've already seen this, but I'm going to run it one last time because as far as I know, we're just about finished. Just about finished with the with setting up the interface. I just thought of one last thing I'd like to do, but the code isn't much, so I will come back and create one more video on the code for this one. But once this comes up, again, not operational. Okay, please remember, the calculate button does nothing. The clear button does nothing. All right, but if I come up in here, notice I get my numeric keyboard. So I can put in something, I click again, I still got my numeric keyboard. Good. Okay, but still when I click calculate or clear, nothing happens. All right. So one last thing that I was thinking of, and I'm not sure if I did it or not, I don't remember, but I'm going to look, and that is for my calculate button, I want, when I do an on click, when I click, that right now it's set to none, I want it to call calculate the BMI. Okay, and when I click the clear button, I want it to call clear. All right, so what is that? What do those mean? That means those are the routines that I want to call when the buttons are clicked. All right, so when I go into my main activity.java, which is what I'm going to do in the next video, I'm going to explain every bit of code that I'm going to put in here to at least ideally make this program work. All right, time to do a quick file, save all, and I'm done with the first part or the first lecture in this series.